Welcome to East Asian International Management, or EAM as I call it. We're going to be talking about strategy, culture, and the new realities. My name is Professor SeanWatts. You can see lots of my contacts there. And today, again, we are going through the introduction to the student requirements with our class, East Asian International Management. You can see the classes through here. You can also see some previous students' videos to show you what are possible final results. Overall, I wanted to welcome you all to the class and make sure that you're aware of the huge opportunities. With coronavirus and COVID-19, it has sped up the changes in life so that the idea of education changing, many people are saying that the school buildings are changing and going out of fashion. I noticed that I think there's about 1,000 school buildings have closed in Korea just since coronavirus has started. So that's 1,000 schools have been closed forever. Most of them are high schools, but universities are being discussed. Some universities are expected to close. This one is a big one. It's kind of a famous one. So I don't think this has got a problem, but there are others that are changing. But it relates to jobs too. Make sure you're aware of how people can work online, how people can connect with anybody else from anywhere else in the world, just like our TAs. We have a couple of TAs from Vietnam. We have a TA from Kenya. We have these people educated with Japan, with Australia, with Norway. So you are connected around the world. Know about that. Know about Industry 4.0. Use your environment. Use these numerous opportunities. Use the resources around you. A lot of people don't understand how valuable a library is. The library has millions of dollars of access to restricted journals, $50 per story, not just per journal, millions of dollars per whole journal. And then there's the alumni, the students that have graduated, you can benefit from, other professors. Of course, use me, I work for you, you're the boss. Make sure that's clear and understood. With these changes and understanding people are open to these changes and new activities, new ways of doing things, executives and professors around the world can join us, and it's very easy. If you are interested in that, please talk to me about it. Please tell me. I've had professors from Denmark, from Romania, from other places in Europe, from India, from Vietnam, from Canada, from Korea, of course, join our classes before and talk to students. I thought that's the best way to show international management. But one of the last semesters, students really didn't say anything. So I'm going to focus on talking now. If you are interested, tell me and I can bring other friends in. Leverage these experiences. I've worked with 128 countries. I should have enough stories myself. 30 years of teaching experience, 20 years of executive experience in corporations. I'll be talking about that. I'm happy to help you develop. And we have several other TAs available to help also. So our class is focused on the attendance, the participation, introduction, background, survey details, and your final presentation for a group project. As I understand, almost all of you have heard about this. Pia, you've seen this presentation before, right? Ulukbek, I believe you've seen this presentation before. Tamamula, have you seen this presentation before?
Yeah, I opened it, but I didn't really look through it.
Okay, so you didn't see me present it before. Okay, so I'll go through it. And you know, I think you might have seen some of these details before. I'll try to go through it quite quickly. Again, the class, 80% of it, 80 marks, are focused on you guys developing your own specialization related to class. So develop a project. And 10 marks will go for attendance, 10 marks will go for participation. There's links to learn about some of these other details. With the attendance, the student needs to register with your name in English and your student number so we can recognize you and start checking your attendance and give you 1 point each week or half a point each class. And then at the end of class, you should be staying in the class the whole session. Also give some sort of comment about the class at the end just before you sign out, so we know you've started and you stayed to the end. For participation, if you participate more and talk more during the class, you can get marks for that. So share as much as you can. Share your stories. The more you tell me about you, the more I can customize the class for you. If you stay quiet, you just get the standard presentation that may not personally match your interests. So customize details for yourself. You do not have to attend class. You can put comments into the class Facebook group. I believe it's the facebook.com/groups/East Asian Management. I think that's what it's called. It's listed in the class outline. For your group projects, I would like you guys to talk as much as possible about your interests and your group projects as you can. So overall, all semester, you're developing one formal research project. And week 3, you give the introduction to why it's important. Week 5, you give the background of what other people are saying, or the background literature. Week 6, 7, 8, 9, you're sharing information about your support or your surveys, your interactions with companies. Week 14 is the deadline to present. It's better to present maybe in week 12 or week 13. And if you have any issues, you can present again. But some students have had a big stumble in the past. They waited, they were quiet till week 14, and then other students were presenting before them, and the class ran out of time. The class finished, they couldn't present, so they missed marks. Don't make that mistake. Next, make sure you present with reliable information. It's okay to use Wikipedia. It's great. It's okay to use CNN or BBC and Facebook. That stuff's great. It's new and it's up to date about what some people say. That's definitely true. But some of the information may be wrong. What they say could be wrong. So you also need reliable information like Scopus papers, and find a lot of information and save that in your own Google Drive folder, and make me an editor, invite me to have access to your folder so I can give you some comments and suggestions to develop that stuff. So again, overall, week 3, introduce your project, or today, whatever you're comfortable with, start trying to introduce what you're interested in. Try to start becoming a specialist now, because this class is talking about East Asian management. One of the core parts of East Asian management is to know what other people are doing and to connect with others. If you stay quiet, you don't have any connection. So start sharing information as soon as possible. Week 5, you should be sharing a lot more about the background, what other people are saying. Week 6, 7, 8, and 9, as we're talking about, is the survey information and then the final presentation. Next, how you present. The typical way is first starting to talk about why the topic is important, the introduction, what other people are saying, or the background literature or literature review, then the methodology and the surveying, then show what you're surveying or what your details found, which is the results, then talk about what you think those mean in the discussion, and then your conclusion and references. Make sure you use proper references all the time. This is the proper way: abstract, intro, background literature, methods, results, conclusion. And you can get bonus points if you talk about a grant and video. I'll clarify some of that. But before we do that, week 1, week 2, I want to clarify that you guys are boss. I work for you. You pay my bills. So if you don't like something about the class in week 1 or 2, including the evaluation, as we see on this slide, you can suggest that we evaluate you in some different way. I'm not saying that I will change, but I will consider it, and it's possible. In the past, we have made some changes. So be aware of that. The biggest thing that I'm looking for is that you understand what is good information versus bad information, and how you can connect people and other things. So you need to connect the top quality, reliable, trusted information and the newest information at the same time. Top of this list, the bottom of the list, all throughout here, and connect with as many people as possible. For example, if you want to go to graduate school, if you want to get a PhD, I highly suggest you find not just a university, but a professor that is teaching something that you love, and then reference that professor. Start talking to that professor. If you start a relationship with that professor now, there's a super high chance that professor is going to bring you in, maybe give you a scholarship for that PhD program. Otherwise, you just have to stand at the front with hundreds or thousands of other people that are not recognized by the company for interviewing. So how do you reference? We usually use the APA method. If you find a different journal that you want to replicate its style and format, you may be able to use the Harvard style or Chicago style, whatever the journal is using. But most often in class, you need to show your author's last name, first initial first. These things are usually in alphabetical order. Then the year that they're published, the title of the paper, the title of the journal, the volume, the page number, the DOI, the digital object identifier, or the full exact website of where you got that. That's how you properly reference. And then start your paper as soon as you can. Start going through lots, start going through hundreds of papers, start finding out what the world and the experts are saying about your area and learn about those. Develop your specialization, and then try to do your class project, try to do your research project so that you can teach the world something new. So find a simple article you love, then replicate its style and format, change the focus, maybe the country, maybe the company, or at least 10 to 15%. The more you change, the better. Have a new specialization that you can help the company with, and see an example of what other students did here. I think this is great. Scan many different published articles, continue to brainstorm new ideas all the time. Is it a current topic? Is it going to help the company or the employer you want to work with in the future? Is it interesting? Will the company employer want to hear about it? Will they think it's valuable? Are you providing help or solutions to the company? Does it add new knowledge? Are you working with alumni? Do the alumni support your ideas and contacts in the company? Are you able to replicate the highest, most respected form of publication? So if you're doing these, you should be admired and appreciated by any company you target. And so they will want to continue talking with you. And if you want more information about how to do that, this information in red at the bottom are examples of other people, other students that have done that. They've made a folder of many different articles, and then they've made a presentation summarizing these points and trying to teach something new that is very valuable, and you can present that to a company. This talks about how you can use this $1,000,000 valuable or multi-million-dollar value library to access these expensive articles. How you can just log on to the library.kmu.ac.kr, start searching for anything in here, and then search through the content provider. Make sure you're looking through the Scopus information. Sometimes it will just show newspaper stories or news stories or blogs. Those things are nice to check, but you have to have significant, reliable information in your papers. So make sure that you're clicking on the Scopus and find some articles. Download these articles, save them to your folder, and then we can go on. Have something like this. Find a very valuable journal article, and this one was focused on marketing. So with social media in Europe, the students loved the idea of marketing, but rather than focus on Europe, they changed the exact same style and format paper, and they talked about marketing in Korea, specifically for L'Oreal Cosmetics. And they were able to find many different journal articles that were very valuable, like $50 each. They walked up to the executive in L'Oreal Cosmetics. They started showing them that we have a lot of these expensive, very valuable research and reports from some of the world's most respected and reliable minds, and we can summarize that to you. That alone impressed the CEO and the director of L'Oreal Cosmetics, so they were able to interview them. And just based on that alone, these two students that developed this paper, they got an internship, and one of them was hired full-time to work with the company. That's the intention. So find something like this. Start today. Go to the library. Go anywhere. Start trying to find stories related to what you like. Here is one story. Each story might be worth $50 if you download it on your own outside of the library, especially if they're the top quality Scopus or Web of Science articles. So $50, that's 100, 200, 300, 400, almost $1,000 in articles. You can share this with an executive in the company that they probably don't have access to, and you're giving them $1,000 of tips. Plus, you could say your work is maybe another $5,000 for identifying these things, summarizing it, and presenting it in a helpful manner to the company. So some people say this is like a $10,000 project value you can present to a company. And then on the flip side, you don't have to write a full paper. You only need to present your research in a PPT for our class, but it's better if you actually make a paper. After you do make a paper, I have worked with an MBA group in the past, which is doing almost the same thing as you guys are doing. These MBA students, several of them worked together and they made a class paper, and then they ended up selling this paper to a company for $120,000. That was in Colorado, United States. So if they can develop this paper and sell it, why don't you? Think about it. That type of thing would make you stand out from the crowd. Don't just wait until you graduate and then wait at the end of the line for a job interview. Start contacting the company now. Start showing your research value now. Start showing them that $10,000 value now. And in addition to giving them that research value, also just use that, what's it called when you kiss butt to people, make people feel very good, flatter these executives. Tell them that you're researching the company and you'd like to interview them. You'd like to take a photo of them. A lot of people, if they find out that they're going to be in the newspaper or some sort of publication, they feel good, so they will accept you in. That's another way to meet this employer, and then you can start talking about cooperating on value. Don't just wait in line with the others. That's the slow way. So with our class, you have to develop a project in almost any class around the world, write some sort of paper or develop some sort of class project, but it's much smarter if you work with the big picture and work with a company you want to work with and leverage the students who have already graduated, the alumni, and make that project or paper published in a student newspaper or international newspaper or journal, publish it in a journal. That publication you can add to your resume and CV. It will make you much more competitive and attractive than anybody else. And at the same time, if you look at the very big picture with the very big companies, some of them trillion-dollar companies, they have to give money back every year, and they want to do it in front of a TV reporter or a newspaper journalist. So if you just ask in the right way, they could pay you to do your class work and hire people to help you, hire experts to help you, all developing something that will help that company. And in my opinion, that pretty much guarantees you get a job that you want. Almost any company you want to work for, if you do something like that, I would find it hard for any company to deny. Tamamula, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I hope you heard what I just said. Do you agree that if you were working with any company in the world and some guy came up to you and showed you he had a $10,000 value report and he wanted to take a photo of you or interview you, and he had money from some other company to hire experts to help you develop inside your company, would you agree that you would love that person? You would think that person is very helpful and valuable? You would give them a job?
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So you shouldn't have any difficulties trying to get jobs as long as you understand strategy well. Everything I'm talking about is related to the art of war. Sun Tzu, we'll be talking about that in week 3. Know the big picture, know the terrain, know who's out there and how to work with everybody, know the weak points and the strong points of everything. Overall, it's plan. Proactively plan your future. Develop yourself daily, weekly, monthly. Don't wait until later. Don't wait until you graduate. If you wait or if you fail to plan, that is planning to fail. So whatever your goal is, whatever your dream is, make sure today is helping you get there. Make sure today is rising, is helping you rise up several steps to get close to that. And rather than just study and get a degree, which is one way to get up a few steps, connect with other people, connect with the alumni that are at a higher level, or maybe some other people can introduce you to people that are working there, or maybe you can survey people working there or hire to there and use that to develop relationships. And then that relationship might provide that job or the opportunity to get much closer to your dream. So start doing that stuff now. Next, don't just foolishly follow others. Don't just foolishly follow me. Dr. Sean, the sheep, that picture at the top. What I'm trying to show you is don't sit quietly when it comes to your future. We're supposed to be learning about what you want to do. We're talking about international management of you, international management of companies. We're using a lot of examples and details and theories related to East Asia, in China, in Japan, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Russia. We'll be talking about some of those things, but speak up. Try to consider a wiser way to get your happiness, to get your dreams. Students think minimally about usually the tests and things like that, but make sure you understand what it's doing, how it's helping you. Think seriously about your career and your future. Develop your specialization today. Otherwise, you have billions of competitors. Leverage the class, any class you have, not just mine, but all classes. Many classes ask you to write a paper. And with almost no extra effort, just based on starting from a class paper, you could talk to some executives and put the quotes in your paper. And that could give you an internship. And you could get a chance to get paid by a grant to do the classwork. And you could publish that classwork, and that could go onto your resume and make your resume more valuable. And you can develop connections with the companies that might improve your chances of getting a job. And of course, in Korea, we will be talking a lot about the Confucian characteristics. Japan, China, Korea, and I believe the same thing in Vietnam. When somebody has gone to a university and graduated from that university, I think there's unwritten rule that they should always, almost forever, continue to try to support and say good things about that university. So if they already graduated Kim Young and now you're a student there, they're kind of required to support you. So if you go and try to survey them, they're not really allowed to say no. Thuong, you have connections in Vietnam. Do you believe it's the same in Vietnam? Anybody that goes to a university, they're basically required to continue being kind to that university and supporting that university, including younger students, for many more years?
Yes, Professor. At least I think when we graduate from a university, so normally the university sometimes invite us to come back to have a talk and speak with the new student.
Good idea, right?
Yeah.
So if any of you students, if you find an executive that can come talk to, they don't even need to come, they just need to turn on their computer. And if they talk to our class with these videos, I'll give you extra participation points for that, bonus points for that. So you've already heard, in Vietnam, it's hard to say no. In Korea, trust me, I've been here about 25 years. It's hard to say no. Most people should help you. What about in other countries? Clifford, you have studied in Norway and you have contacts in Kenya, Africa. Would you say it's the same in Norway and in Africa? Any student that is related to the same university you went to, would you support them?
Yeah, that's right. I still have a lot of contacts from my Norwegian university, my Kenyan university. I support these students a lot. So it's indeed correct.
Absolutely. So all of you students, even though some of you are new, you've only been here for a few days in the country or whatever, check out the alumni office, check out the KAC office. They can tell you where some of our alumni are working. Or a better strategy, just go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is similar to Facebook. You can type in the university, you can type in the company. Just with those two words alone, Young University or plus whatever company you wanted to work with, you could probably find dozens or hundreds of other people that connect and relate to you. So think of those things. After that, if you don't know what you want to do, if you don't know who you are or about your future, there are many ways to find out about it. And this is a simple way, one of the simplest ways to find out who you are and what type of future you might have. This is what I did when I was 14 years old. I wrote down my main interests and my characteristics that describe me on a blank piece of paper. No job titles, didn't have my name, just the characteristics and interests that I had. I love the human body. I love the brains. I love helping people. I love challenges. I love fixing things. So if you give that to somebody else, if you switch that paper over, most people say that that looks like a medical doctor. And that's actually what I started. I went through medical school and I was a chemotherapist for a while. But I've learned since then, you should also put down what you don't like. I don't like dead people. I don't like dying people or depressed people. And I found out that, in my opinion, doctors are very similar to a car auto mechanic. If something's broken, basically they cut it out, or they burn it out, or they replace it. And so I found working with people in management was more of a challenge. I love those challenges. So this is one way to identify what kind of job and career you might want to have. There's a lot more ways, a lot more advanced ways, like humanmetrics.com or 16personalities.com, personal planning, that can help you identify your personality, your careers, what ways you learn the best, what ways you communicate the best, how you can interact with other people the best. So go through this stuff, find out about yourself, and start developing yourself for your future now. It's not very hard. The human metrics, it's related to Carl Jung's, the Briggs-Meyer typology test, which it talks about here. It was developed many, many years ago, and now it's super famous. You guys may know one of the guys, it's very similar to this, a small guy named Sigmund Freud. Almost everybody knows about Freud, but this guy, Carl Jung, he didn't promote himself. And so because he didn't promote himself, his work was not really known for until, little by little, gradually it was known. Sigmund Freud promoted himself a lot, got a lot of publicity, and almost everybody knows about him. But now many people are starting. Almost anybody working in HR, they now know about this MBTI or the Jung typology test. It is easy to go through to identify your characteristics, your personality, and careers that match you. Other than that, know about your environment. With East Asian management, we need to understand Sun Tzu, art of war. Who is the enemy? Who are you working with? Who is around you? And here in Korea, of course, Korean people around you. How are they different than other people? Many people know of Donald Trump. He talks a lot. I hate a lot about him, but there are some things that are great about him. But his culture is very different than Korean. So we have orange and green. They're very different here with several things. It's surprising to know Korean culture is almost the exact same as El Salvador and Venezuela. Shockingly, I used to live in El Salvador for a couple of years before I came to Korea. Anyway, these research results show that they're almost the same. So purple and green, almost the same. Purple and green, almost identical here. Purple and green, almost the same. Purple and green, almost the same here with uncertainty avoidance. What does this uncertainty avoidance mean? With Korea having a very high uncertainty avoidance, it means most people in Korea have a very low level of tolerance for uncertainty. They usually have very strict rules, laws, policies, regulations in order to control everything. They eliminate and avoid anything that is unexpected. So if you are going to go survey Korean people working in a company, talk to them about how you have a connection. Talk to them about how you are from the same university. Talk to them about how their alumni working with them introduced you. When you have that type of connection, it opens doors a lot more. So know about that. Korea is one of the most uncertainty avoiding countries in the world. It maintains rigid codes of belief and behavior and is intolerant of unorthodox behaviors and ideas. There is emotional need for rules. However, almost no Korean companies have had students walk up to them and present them with $10,000 reports, which is the best ideas in the world. Number one, they also have a very big power distance. What that means is less powerful members of society, institutions, organizations, companies, they expect and they accept that power is distributed unequally. So they know the powerful people are different than the non-powerful people. And most people in Korea think a company executive is powerful and a student is not powerful. Let me repeat. I love you guys, students, because you pay my bills and you let me talk about what I love. But most company executives, if they find out you're just a student, they might just hang up on you. So don't tell them you're a student, just tell them that you have that value report. Tell them that you're connected to them, doing research, and you have 10 different reports that could be $500, or your report's $10,000 of the most reliable, most respected information in the world that can help the company. That alone, they should listen to you. So that's just one tip. Look at the big picture. Look at what's happening around you. Look at the fact of what has changed life, no matter where you've gone. The very first printing press to make books in the 1400s, that changed society. It helped people start learning a lot faster. Then we started to realize that anything can be published. I've published several books. I think I'm on 4 or 5 books, more if you count chapters of books. And I'm not saying mine is the most reliable and the best in the world, but what is the most reliable and the best in the world are these international journals. The very first international journal was in 1663. And then we got up to the telegraph and the telephone in the 1930s, 1920s. Those things changed the world a lot. But recently, with the radio, with the TV, with the internet, things have been changing a lot faster, connecting people a lot more. Coronavirus has been, in some ways, of course, very bad. I acknowledge that. But coronavirus has also been awesome and very, very good for the world because it's making everybody in the planet equal. Everybody is now online. And anybody can show what you're doing just by showing your results. They're not going to check your skin color when you send them a file. They're just going to see, are you good or not? Do you understand what I want and can you help or not? And so anybody is connected online and almost everybody is online. So that's changing things. Don't forget also artificial intelligence, machine learning. That stuff will be changing your life incredibly fast. And the idea of there are programs that are automatically reading books. I actually took a photocopy of a book, the book that we have, and I was going to share that with some of my staff. And so I put it into a file that had a password. And so when I sent another note with the file name and the password to my staff, I was shocked. Within 20 minutes, Google sent me a note saying that the internet has found my passwords online and I should change them immediately. Otherwise, you're at high risk of being hacked. So that type of thing is growing very fast. Another thing that's growing fast is the internet is reading these books. And so all of the books, all of these lessons, all of these classes online are going online. You can pretty much read and study and learn anything. Learn about that. Learn about what's happening around you. The idea of these new journals and things. Let me just clear up this. So the first journal, Changed Life. Outliers talks about how life is changing quite rapidly, but there's a lot of support to show everybody's equal. Some people say Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they're aliens. They're from out of this world. They're so incredibly talented. Well, actually, if you look at the big picture, following The Art of War and Sun Tzu, if you look at their environment, they're actually not that special at all. They were just a couple of kids that started playing a hobby and they got addicted to the hobby, but that hobby just happened to help them. And that hobby that they liked was a hobby that almost nobody else in the world could do at that time. That was playing and programming computers. They were some of the first ones that were able to access these computers at the same time. They were both born in 1955 when it first came out. So that is what helped it. What is something new for your environment? Obviously, coronavirus. Obviously, the fact that everybody's now online. Obviously, the fact that there's the artificial intelligence and online learning. Those types of things are changing the world. The fact that the United States used to be the king and the most powerful, but now they have so much debt and they have so many problems like Donald Trump that they're declining really quickly. China and Vietnam are growing faster than anywhere else. So East Asia is the center. Capitalize on that. So learn about you, your talents, your market needs, and what you have a passion for, and develop all of those things. Don't forget, you must check what there's a market need for. And look at the big picture. Again, some people say Bill Gates is the most successful almost in the world, next to what's his name, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, but he just has basically $100 billion, just that much. But if you look at it, the Rockefellers had $663 billion, and that was 1839. And then in 1835, the Carnegies started with steel. And in 1837, same time, JP Morgan started with banking, steel, electricity. And again, almost the same time, the Vanderbilt started with shipping. So at this time, the world changed a lot. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates' time, they changed a lot. But I'm positive the world is changing incredibly fast, probably faster than any of us realize right now. 2020, 2021 to 2025, incredible changes are happening. Hotels are going out of business because of a new hotel company that has no hotel rooms, no hotel businesses, buildings. That's the Airbnb. Taxi companies, transportation companies are going out of business because of a car company that has no cars. Uber, things like that. I have some students that are talking about how Uber is growing incredibly fast in Uzbekistan. So those are just examples of how the world is changing. Another way that the world is changing is money. Money, 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 money. Some companies have a crazy amount of money. Some executives have a crazy amount of money. Check those details. Like Apple, more than $2 trillion. Microsoft, almost $2 trillion. So some of these have so much money that they have to give back. It's like a lottery ticket. So if you understand that some of these grants can be obtained just with something like 400 words, that's like a text message or a Facebook post. Put a Facebook post into a company asking for a grant, and you could get hundreds of thousands or $1 million to develop yourself. So companies, executives, they make lots and they give back through grants. Think, dream, and students, try to go big. Don't just be quiet in the backgrounds. Also look at where the money is. These top executives like Tesla and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, I think it's a top 1% of 1% owns almost half of the assets of the world. And then half of the people of the world have relatively nothing. So be aware of that and make sure you understand how that's happening. Most people that are following what other people do, following what other people say, are going to work for these big companies. But these big, successful people usually don't work for any other company. They own the company. Think about that. Do you want to make money for somebody else your whole life, and then at retirement realize that you still don't have enough money to travel, you still don't have enough money to retire properly? You might want to start thinking of making a company yourself. Now, you can do it online while you go to school, while you do anything. And you can get funds from these other companies. This is the Ford car company, their Ford Foundation, basically marketing department. They say if you have 100 words describing our organization or Keimyung University, 100 words talking about my background, the president's background, or who are some of the other executives or high-level people that might be engaged in your project, show those valuable CVs, and then 100 words talking about what is the purpose of your project, what are you going to do, how are you going to learn about the best management techniques, and then 100 words talking about why the world should care, then just talk about how much you want. Many students might think, okay, if I could ask for some money, I'd ask for $100 or $1,000, or let's go big, $10,000. But again, you must think about that company. Bill Gates, he's giving away $50 billion. I believe Ford company gives away something like $25 million in grants every year. So if you just ask for $1,000 or $10,000, you're making that company do a lot of work to process it. They prefer to give away grants that are very valuable, and it's almost all big companies, from the City Foundation or 3M or American Airlines, Merrill Lynch, FedEx, Ford Company, Microsoft. What it's showing is that they usually give away something like $300,000 to $1.3 million. Find out what they usually give away and do what they're comfortable doing. It's nice that you like something, but if you want to be successful, you need to understand what that other person's doing. Sun Tzu, Art of War, know your enemy, work with your enemy. So whatever is your target, learn what they are comfortable doing, and then you can do the same thing for mutual benefit. So that's what I'm talking about with grants. So overall, with your class, present like a reliable, respected person, abstract, introduction, background, literature, methods, results, conclusion, references. And then you can also apply for a grant or show you have some grant details, and I'll give you bonus points for that, because I know it is so valuable. That's what almost all European and North American graduate students have to work with. And because we're moving online with almost everything, if you make a video of your project, teaching the world something new, teaching this information, you don't even have to show up for my class at all. And you can still probably get 90%. So just think about those things. Whatever you want to do, start practicing it now. Don't just sit quietly in the back of the class. There's 11 people in our group today. Everybody's sitting quietly. Why? Talk more, argue more, ask questions. You have so much around you, possibilities, like 168 hours per week. And no matter how much you are working or sleeping, most people still have about 72 hours remaining that could be used to develop your retirement or your money or your skills to make you famous, whatever you want to do. 72 hours you could use wisely to develop your success. Many people say, as long as you keep developing, once you develop and try to develop for 10,000 hours, you will be successful. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, the Beatles, Mozart, they're all proven to follow the same thing. At the beginning, they were crap. They were very, very bad. But after they practiced a lot, they got a lot better. So you need to start practicing in class. That's it. That's what we need to do for our class. There's lots of other contacts. There's lots of other links. There's lots of other information I can share with you. You just need to tell me what you're interested in. And we have several other students that can help you, graduates that can help you, alumni that can help you, and teaching assistants from around the world that can help you. Please work wisely with that. If you have any other questions, let me know. Next, today, are you ready to get freaked out? I don't want to scare anybody. We only have 7 main points that I'm going to be teaching today. So remember that. I'm going to be teaching you 7 main things, but I have lots of examples. How many examples do I have? 125 slides more, plus there's already like 38, 40. So 165 slides I might be showing you today. If you don't talk, I'm going to be torturing you with too much information. Please start talking. So what am I going to be talking about? Again, I'm only going to be talking about 7 things. I'm going to comment about what is management, because our class is East Asian and International Management. So with East Asian and International Management, I'm going to be talking to you about theories of management around the world. What has been proposed? And then I'm going to be talking to you about how culture and the cultural differences change that. And then I'll talk about several different differences and maybe mistakes that you can make and you can see. Avoid those mistakes. Then I'm going to talk to you about student culture. Make sure you know your own student culture. Then I'm going to show you examples of Asian management examples. And then I'm going to talk about your culture, and then tech culture. So there's only 7 things that I'm talking about. Here is the beginning. I want to make sure that students learn as much as you can. This is one textbook, but we have another textbook related to international management that you can learn more from. I take some out of many different textbooks and some out of Scopus journal articles, some just out of the internet. But these textbooks are good to look at. If you want, at the end of each chapter, there are questions to help make sure you understand them. If you answer those questions and hand them in, you can use that for your participation points, but you don't have to. The only thing you have to do, I've already shown you, and that is your main research project. I would like you guys to nominate a class leader and have that leader represent you so the teaching team matches your interests. So while we're talking, the other TAs might send you some text. Who do you think might be a good student leader? Who might be a good class president? You can tell me at the end of class. Right now it's 11:25. We have still quite a bit more time. So what am I going to be talking about in our remaining time? This PPT talks about, again, management theories. What is reality and how you are managed, how you manage by culture. And then we talk about examples of cultures that you may not notice. And then we talk about cultural dimensions, how you can analyze culture, cultural differences, cultural texts, and then examples of student culture, Asian culture, examples of your culture and tech culture. Other than that, each week, we're going to be learning these different things. At the end of today, we're learning this. Next week, we're going to be talking about East-West comparisons, cultural comparisons. And I'm an old guy. I've found lots of textbooks, but I've also found that students prefer videos. I have 3 videos that I highly recommend you guys view now, this week, and prepare to talk about them next week. And that is the East-West video 1 and East-West video 2, and then the video called 2 Million Minutes. Learn about those videos so you can talk about them well. You can find them online, but I've also bought copies and made some summary copies in my YouTube channel. So it's best if you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see those details. Next class, week 3, we'll be talking about that art of business, or originally it was called Art of War, created by Sun Tzu. And then we're going to be talking about Guangxi. Guangxi is talking about networking and social capital, the value of that. Then we're going to talk about Chinese management, Japanese management, Korean management, trends, North American management, Vietnamese management, and then internationally, especially in East Asia, the different negotiation styles and tactics. So be aware of the textbooks we associate with our class quite a bit. Go through them, ask questions anytime. Thuong and Cliff or Hoa, do you know what was the name of the second textbook we use? I have many.
Yes. So the first one is about East Asian management. That is the book, and also you can use the book name International Management for the second textbook materials. You can read for more information.
Here's one book, International Management. This is good. It relates to the class. You can use this. You can talk to me to get some details. The first book that I was talking about is this one, Asian Management Systems. This talks about Chinese, then Japanese, then Korean, and then the negotiation tactics, the Sun Tzu Art of War, Guangxi. It's all discussed in this book. There's several other books, another International Management, and another. I've got dozens. If you like that, yes, tell me what your personality is. Tell me what your focus is, and I can help connect you with a book that might match you. However, I also highly recommend that you fine tune your details to you. Find out who you are and that company or the business you want to work with, and forget any textbook. Textbooks are old. Start looking at those most reliable journal articles and share that, because 80% of your grade is going to be talking about your research. And so you can talk about the art of war, how you know something about the company. That's week 3. You can talk about connecting with people, introducing executives. That's week 4. Things like, let's review what's important. Since this is kind of an advanced international management class, the basics of management. You should know the basic theories. Do you know how Maslow had theories of management? What about Herzberg's theories of management, McGregor's theories of management, the economic theory, environmental theory, the open comparative management model theories of management? It would be good if you knew all of those things. Next, it would be good if you know the explanations for the time it took for USA to go from being poor and agricultural and just focused on farming to high tech. And same thing for Japan, same thing for Korea. Tech took them generally 100 years. And then they were copying who? They didn't develop everything on their own. They basically copied, cheated, plagiarized from the United Kingdom. Yeah, Britain, the United Kingdom. And so United Kingdom took much longer. And then United States just only took 100 years. Then Japan learned from the United Kingdom, and then Japan also learned from the USA, and Japan developed in 70 years. And Korea learned from the UK, US, Japan, and Korea developed in about 20 to 30 years. How fast do you think it's going to take China and Vietnam to develop? That is a big part of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the Weber and Marx, Karl Marx and Weber. They say that your culture is what develops the country. And some people say Vietnam is going to develop from a poor country to a rich country in less than 10 years. I've lived there for a while. I could agree. I love that place. Anyway, we're also going to be talking about the definition of parochialism, ethnocentrism, and culture. You should know those things. The culture of Samsung and Hyundai, the culture of what is proper culture, how can culture be identified, what are the dimensions of culture, like power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism. That's identified by the famous researcher Hofstede, which is no different than any of you. He's just a guy that started studying something related to what he was interested in. He was interested in IBM, and he was interested in how IBM worked in over 100 countries. And so he started studying how management changed in each country. That's it. And that made him super famous. His paper related to that. And then we can talk about the importance of the percentage of international management. People talk about globalization. People talk about world's best. People talk, especially in the United States. You can hear many companies saying it's the world's best athlete, the world's best company, the world's best whatever. But if you look at it, it's only actually checking within California or within Miami or New York. It's not even checking outside in Texas or in Illinois. And it's definitely a lot of these studies, these people are not checking outside. So most people still don't know what is international management. And definitely a lot of people don't know what is East Asian management. So if you do write a paper related to it, almost any company in the world should appreciate that. They may want to pay you. I don't know if they're going to pay you $120,000 like one of my other classes, but it's possible. I'll help you try. Next, you need to understand your culture, the culture of students and the culture of assignments, the way to do things properly, and the culture of technology, the culture of social media and analytics, the culture of big business and money culture, and then the culture of learning and MOOCs and online educational resources. So, you guys ready for a test on that stuff now? I'll just assume the answer is no. So I will summarize these details to you. What are some of the most famous management theories? So Maslow and the hierarchy of needs is one of the most famous. And he talked about his theory in the 1920s. And he had the pyramid of needs, talking about physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, self-actualization. And then after the 1920s, we also had Hawthorne. He developed another theory of management. and I find this pretty cool. All he did, and he became famous and he wrote papers about it, he just went into a building and he saw that there's a lot of people working there, and he just turned the lights off and he watched people started working harder. And then he turned the lights on and the people started working harder again. And then if he walked away and he didn't change anything, people slowed down, they worked less. Basically what he found was, as long as you show attention and show that you're near them, you're working with them, you care for them, your staff and the workers will work more. But you just turned the lights on and it got people to work more. And then after they were getting bored, he turned the lights off. Even with the lights off, people worked more. That's kind of funny. So hopefully your paper is going to be interesting like that. Then in the 1950s, Herzberg developed another theory. He started talking about hygiene and motivational factors. And he's not talking about washing your hands for coronavirus. He was talking about as long as you had safe working conditions and you had adequate pay, as long as you had that, people would work fairly well. And then McGregor, he started developing a new theory of management in the 1980s. And then after this, they developed a new theory, theory X and theory Y, and then theory Z. Theory X with McGregor basically said, management thinks workers, I don't know if you can see me, but he thinks workers don't like to work, so they don't work hard, so you have to kick their ass. And then the theory Y is saying that workers love responsibility and they love to work, so just give them the opportunity and let them work and get out of their way and they'll do very good. Theory Z is more related to our East Asian management class. Theory Z, a lot of people say, is the Japanese style. They say in Japan, all of the management decisions are made at the bottom of the organization, the bottom level, and then they give that to their manager. The manager gives it to the director gives it to the senior director. And so it goes from the bottom up to the top and around to the CEO. So it's the theory Z. And then it goes back. So that is the McGregor's theory. There's even more motivational theories. There's many management theories. The equity theory is talking about the more you give ownership of a company to somebody or you give stock options to a company, it should motivate them to work hard. Well, we can talk about that. Reinforcement theory, the idea if you say, good job, little Johnny, or great job, Susie, those positive reinforcements will make people work harder. And at the same time, they say there's another type of culture where it's negative reinforcement, where you basically have to say, do it or I'll kill you, do it or you're fired, do it or blah, blah, blah. These are all just different types of motivational theories, and they're all super famous, and they made these people super famous. But for example, with the equity theory, I used to work with a company called Applied Materials. And Applied Materials is one of the highest tech companies in the world because it designs the equipment that makes the semiconductors. So for example, they teach Samsung how to make semiconductor computer chips. And so Samsung's technology has to come from Applied Materials. And so I was working for Applied Materials, and Applied Materials is one of the highest tech, most high-tech companies. They follow the equity theory. They give a lot of stock options. They offered many people millions of million-dollar stock options. Surprisingly, I quit very soon after that. And most people that I knew at the company quit. And it's because increasingly the Gen Z and the millennial generation, they're saying they want to feel good. They want to feel like they're making a difference. They don't want to be in a political backstabbing, a terrible environment. And so it was the same thing. Anyway, every theory has problems. Understand each person is different. Understand all possible theories. And after you understand these theories, understand that each person may need a different management theory. So you need to find out what works best. Some people are good for you just to give them the company resources and let them develop. Other people, you have to repeat things over and over and maybe look over their shoulder all the time or yell at them or threaten them. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. What matters is what your staff like. Again, Sun Tzu, Art of War, it matters what the other person likes. Next, these are the summaries of each. The idea of Hawthorne studies, Maslow studies, Herzberg studies, McGregor's theory Z, expectancy, equity theory, reinforcement theory. There's many theories here. And there's other different job motivations. And there's different management styles. Like some management style, as you can see here, is the autocratic style. And at the far end of the stream is the free rein style. So you should be aware that this leadership theory in this diagram, this green rectangle, was created by an American. And so when they're talking about themselves, which is the participative style, they say that's in the middle, that's balanced, that's good. And when they talk about the East Asian style, where you have a senior person, they say it's a dictator or autocrat running everything. And when they look at France style, maybe in the German style, they'll say it's free reign. Anybody can do anything over there. Do you see a trend? Because this theory was proposed by Americans, it promotes and makes the Americans look the best. Well, we are in East Asia. What is a different way to say autocratic management control in a nice way? What about paternalistic, fatherly style? Isn't that the way your father does things? Or maternalistic, motherly style? Your mother makes decisions for you and takes care of you? That's the same as a lot of Asian companies. And it's not a bad thing at all. It's just when it's described by other people that don't understand you, they can say bad things. So what is my point? The reality is that you need to know all of these things have issues. There's good points about them and bad points. Maslow was based just on North American subjects. Their cultural values vary across countries. The hierarchy may be valid for North Americans, but the order of importance depends on the. I'm going to wrap up the class. If you have questions, please ask. Again, 125 slides. You do not have to go through all of them. I just wanted to show you up to what we're talking about, and I'm basically finished this. Now we're starting to just describe the importance of culture. What culture is on this slide 17. And then we talk about from slide 23 to 30 is talking about those video examples. The other thing that I was going to be talking about today is the idea of cultural differences. I highly suggest you guys go through that outline, the class outline, and there's a YouTube video channel. If you subscribe to that, you will be able to see certain videos like this. Let me just zoom in. So these videos, images that I'm showing you are really amazing. Start watching these videos and they show you how people change. For example, if you check closely, the question is the man in the middle. So if I present this to you, even though class is basically finished, you see this picture now clearly, right, Pia? Not clearly, but you can see there's 5 people. So the question is this man in the middle, does he look happy?
Yeah. No.
Okay,
No.
so this guy looks happy. What about this guy? Is he happy?
Oh, I thought this was the picture in the beginning. I think, yeah, he looks happier than the other
for you, it's
people.
the same. However, a lot of people in East Asian culture, Confucian culture, they would usually say that just because of the environment, the other people, even though the question is about the man in the middle, because the environment changes, many people in East Asia, they would say this guy also changes. So people in Europe and in North America, they just focus on the one part, but people in other countries focus on other parts. Same thing. This is my favorite. This talks about how people in North America and Europe, they may eat based on the mother just telling them, go get your own breakfast, or you know where the cereal is. But in East Asia, the mother makes food for you. So does that mean that the mothers are bad? Or no, it's just the mothers are different. So it explains those types of examples. So watch that. There's 3 different videos. One is East-West video 1, East-West video 2, and the 2 million minutes. With that said, I'm finished for today. I look forward to seeing you guys next slide.